most brands try to scale their channels and retention to 7 figures, they fail. It's not because of their poorly run brands. They just don't understand what it actually takes in order to create the systems and content and flow logic and campaign strategy necessary to actually produce 7 figures out of their email channel. Okay, I'm going to prove that when you set up the right systems, email can become one of your leading channels. I'll show you exactly how we generated over $1 million within 30 days for one of our clients. So if you're an e-commerce brand that's just leaking retention revenue, or you feel like there's a leaky bucket inside of any of your retention channels, but especially email and SMS, this is the video for you. Check it out. So let's talk about list capture and entry points. This is where 90% of email marketing channels inside e-commerce brands go wrong. Most people don't focus enough on their pop-up. Most people don't care enough about their offer. They're not testing their offer at all. People just put 10% off and they think that's the end of it. And that's just simply not the case. When you have a really good pop-up, it is used as a CRO mechanism. It is truly maybe the most dominant tool inside of your retention channel stack in order to actually build an email list and build a profitable retention channel. It's just how you capture thousands of really active and, potential customers of a lifetime right away, the moment they're most interested, which is right when they get on the website. Pop-ups matter and they're key to building a strong list. If you have a poor pop-up, fewer people enter the flows, and fewer people entering the flows makes you less money. You won't get the reduction in acquisition costs that you desire from, the top of funnel ads you're trying to perform with if your welcome flow sucks, right? It goes a really long way when people opt into that 10% off discount, when people opt in and they are on the fence and don't end up buying right away after they click on an ad. The welcome flow absolutely crushes for people to get them over the finish line. And the only way they can get into that welcome flow is if they enter their information into the pop-up. If there's a generic, offer, if there's like vague and weird delays, if you aren't, implementing some of these mechanisms for conversion that we're going to talk about in this video, or if your opt-in rate is below 5%, you need to start focusing on your pop-up more. So like when I work with e-commerce brands, it's the very first thing I check. If their pop-up sucks or they don't have a pop-up, that's a big problem, and that's could be a leading indicator to poor retention channel performance. Setting it up strategically is what helps brands really jump up their email revenue. So I'm going to show you some examples of some pop-ups that absolutely crush. I think that there are 3 core reasons why pop-ups perform or don't perform. It's the design, it's the offer, and it's the UI UX. And so let's think about, like design, right? Start with this one. This has a beautiful design. They're offering 20% off. And then instead of that offer, it involves them, asking a question or collecting zero-party data. Whenever someone selects one of these answers, they then get prompted in through email and then SMS as well. And you can append that zero-party data, which is what that data is calling. It's when we capture someone's data that they give us consent to give. You can append that profile data to Klaviyo, and then you can use it to send campaigns, to create segments, to set up different types of flows. And it's obviously also a really good mechanism of conversion. If you think about CRO, I think pop-up is more CRO than email itself, right? And so one way to think about that is asking a question gets them bought in and incites curiosity. It's what gets people to actually, it gets them like interested in the brand, and it really crushes on opt-in rates, right? Let's look at this one. What are they doing here? They're just inciting curiosity with a kind of scratch and sniff type of thing. So you're literally scratching this and then boom, we get 60% off. We beta tested this with Ollie and Learn when they first launched this last October, and it's been crushing for our clients. This offer is huge. You've won 60% off a single item. Newsflash, everything is 60% off of this brand. So there isn't anything crazy going on there, but it is a baller offer in order to, collect an email. This is going towards the angle approach. Similar to this, those were all angles, the 3 that I showed you about like body odor. And this is a one product store. This is a multi-product store. But, when you collect zero-party data, you can, create custom opt-in sequences. Like I said, segments, flows, campaigns can all be uniquely strategized when you collect data that is more personalized, right? So like each of these questions could result, which I'll show you later in this video, different welcome journeys, right? Which can help with conversion, right? Personalize it more towards their needs and their pain points. You get reduced friction and then build trust, and then people buy. right? Last one I'm showing you is this one. This one is more SKU or category specific. And so these guys, you'll sell paint and sip, and people end up buying these different types of, paint and sip categories based off like who they are. And so it's important that they understand that so they can personalize the retention experience, right? So yeah, I think all these are really good pop-ups. This one's a terrible offer, 5%. I would do at least 10%. Click email, click SMS, ask them a question, and in doing so, you are tripling really. You're tripling up. You're inciting curiosity, you're getting them to click, and you are getting really personalized data via zero-party data collection, which can just help overall conversion. So it's kind of like a triple whammy, to be honest. So that's that. I'm not going to go into the particulars around how to set up a pop-up properly, but 5-second delay, 30% scroll, ask a question, click email, SMS, test offers, which is really key. You can do 20% credit back, $10 off, 10% off. You can do spin the wheel, scratch and sniff, giveaways. I would just really encourage you to test your pop-up. I would say getting anywhere between 5 to 10% is like amazing, right? That would be like the North Star goal, depending on your size of the brand. It can be more or it can be a little bit less. Okay, here's the thing. If your pop-up is performing incredibly well, it does not matter if on the other end your flows are broken, okay? So let me show you some flow structures that we use to cover, the entirety of the customer journey, okay? So this section is scale flow architecture, what seven-figure systems actually look like from a flow point of view. If you think having a welcome series, banner checkout, banner cart is enough, it's not enough, okay? You could be potentially losing out on tens of thousands of dollars a day, a week, a month, depending on how little flows you have set up. Then you set up these proper flows. These flows can run 24/7. Once they're built, generating money on autopilot, right? You don't need to constantly attend to it too. Like you can really just set this up one time, and you should be creating new flows. You should be optimizing, you should be testing it, but they're event based, right? They're triggered by segments. They're people by entering the funnel. You set it up one time and it's going to forever produce revenue for you, right? Whether you're on sleep, on vacation, the flows are working in the background. Properly built email flows let you capture customers at the exact moment they're ready to buy without you having to be hands-on. And this is exactly how top e-commerce brands owners operate at such a high level, by letting the systems inside their retention flow strategy handle the sell. Okay, I will show you, examples of, flows that are performing like really, really well for us. So this is a welcome flow. It's got like a bunch of emails in here. We're also testing a bunch of different offers. You have 35% off, 70% off BOGO, 75% off BOGO, 80% BOGO. Yeah, I mean, you can imagine how much work goes into this jewelry brand. Hello Sparkle, goodbye debt. Here at Logents, we believe that wedding and engagement rings should be beautiful, high quality, and most importantly, affordable. That's the main ethos of the brand. High quality, but affordable. That's this jewelry brand in a nutshell. That's the entirety of the strategy and how we think about doing all of their emails, right? We have, a second welcome email where we do affordable comparisons, a founder's message, which, this is incredible to do if you're brand forward, showcasing reviews, best sellers, how to buy. I mean, this is like a brand that does multiple millions a month, right? And like they're using our core strategies because they just work incredibly well, right? And all we're doing is relating all their core offers on their website, a little bit of like our sauce, right? We have a welcome emails. We have, abandoned checkout emails, abandoned cart. We have like cheeky place order right when they buy. We have window shopper flows, which is when people are kind of like in the middle of the funnel. I'm kind of just free flowing here, right? But there's so many different types of flows that you could do. If you look in our flow library, you have like core flows like the welcome, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout. You have like product-based flows, right? That kind of trigger when the goal collection event flows to re-engage shoppers who browsed a product collection but didn't buy, right? And then based off that collection that they purchased or they viewed, that belies the flow that gets triggered, right? God, we have multi-product abandonment. We have product flows when people abandon. We have more like life cycle flows, right? Place order offer. This window shopper is when people are, you don't have the segment available, but it's people who haven't bought yet, but they've been looking at your website a bunch of times within a certain window. I mean, like these flows, like we go really deep, guys. And I would encourage you to look at the Klaviyo, blog and academy, talk to a good email agency like us. There's a lot of work and time and energy that goes into creating these flows, and there is enough resources out there online for you to figure it out yourself, or you could hire an email agency like that, like us, right? After setting up hundreds of flows for e-commerce brands, we've generated millions in additional revenue, tens of millions, if not over 100 million, honestly, without the need for constant backend maintenance besides flows and creation of new flows. By implementing the right automations, the right flows, we're able to retain more customers, increase lifetime value, and scale consistently, or help them scale consistently rather. If you want to apply this same proven system systems to your own e-commerce brand and work directly with me and get implemented, click the link in the description. We've built custom email marketing systems and flows and retention channels for brands across dozens of industries. If it's your turn to do the same, you should hit us up, okay? Let's talk about how we actually think about campaigns at scale, because this is where the real money gets made week over week. This is campaign strategy at scale or how to promote segmentation, okay? When your list grows into hundreds of thousands of subscribers, every person on it is expecting real value, right? If your strategy is to keep blasting the entire list every day, that is a strategy to lose, to destroy your email list, to create unengaged people. In 2026, no one wants to be spammed with crap emails, okay? People have zero patience. They won't even open your email. If they do, they'll scan it for half a second and then exit out. The solution isn't to send less, and that's kind of a mindset where it keeps brands stuck. They don't want to bother people. Understanding makes your brand visible. Ruining the sending cadence where you're not sending enough, not sending consistently, ruins deliverability. And oversending generic campaigns just turns into noise, honestly. It's literally noise. The sweet spot is sending more to the right people with the right message, okay? Email isn't about blasting volume necessarily. It's about consistent and strategic intent, okay? And the most effective way to structure that is, depending on your size, sending anywhere from 1 to 4, maybe a max 5 campaigns a week, right? You could send a campaign every single day if you wanted to, but you gotta be a big list, honestly, to do that. And you gotta have real value, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, a diverse product ecosystem, product launches and sales happening every month, right? I'm not gonna say send 1 a week, send 4 a week, send 10 a week, right? I'm just letting you know it depends, right? But what I will say is, I think there are key things that you should be doing in order to ensure that you have, base case, like the right type of campaign strategy, right? And so one of those things that I would do is make sure you're sending to your 30-day engaged sending segment. That is, if they have opened or clicked in the last 30 days, that means that they are active, they are purchasing, and they are interested in your brand. I wouldn't expand to 60, 90, or 120 just because 95% of the buyers are inside of the 30-day engaged segment. I really don't think I need to explain to you what the 30-day engaged segment is, because it's what pretty much everyone uses. Let me share with you one of the segments that I really like to use. I highly recommend this segment. It's the espresso shop. So when someone's clicked an email 2 times in the last 14 days, viewed product twice in the last 14 days, added to cart, active on site, checked out in the last 14 days, but they never placed an order, that's an espresso shop segment. This segment is very powerful. It's like window shopper on steroids. Window shopper can be like a 60-day window of something similar. Window shopper includes people who have never bought though. This includes people who just haven't bought in the last 2 weeks, right? So these people are on the fence to buy. Like, look, they checked out once in the last 2 weeks. Like, they were about to buy, but they didn't, right? And so we oftentimes send people a lot of offers using this segment, right? You also have the people who haven't purchased, no purchasers. You have your VIPs, which you can define anyway, but 90% of your sends honestly should come from the 30-day engaged segment. And if there is no overlap with your other sending segments, then yes, you can expand the campaign sends to diverse segments, but you just want to make sure the messaging is pointed to their definition inside that segment, meaning a no purchaser should get like a fat sale or a product launch. They shouldn't get like a normal newsletter, and there should be exclusion so they aren't receiving multiple emails inside these targeted segment campaigns. So like you would, exclude a 30-day engaged segment and include, your unengaged segment, right? Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna go over just like one more thing, and that is like campaign styles. I kind of went deep on segments like really quickly, but it's important when you think about planning campaigns that you focus kind of like on campaign styles, right? And so you have a sophistication stage of your customer, and then you have a style of campaign you do. Are they aware of your problem? Are they aware of your solution? If they're not aware, then make them aware or agitate the problem. But you wouldn't send reviews and testimonials to someone who isn't problem aware. A metal pill case brand isn't going to send to people testimonials and reviews, because you're selling to old people who are using plastic pill cases to divide up their pills when they travel, but they don't know that a metal pill case is antibacterial, that you'll never lose it, stuff like that. So like you gotta agitate the problem. And so that's why we do different types of campaigns depending on that, and also just to see what works. You have product highlights, collection highlights, bundle highlights, product flavors of the month, gift guides, product comparisons, model comparisons, the myth, reviews, testimonials. Like there's so many different types of campaign styles, and I encourage you to send campaigns every week, send to the engaged segments, and most importantly, test different types of campaign types depending on the type of product you have and depending on the sophistication stage, right? I can show you some examples too, some work that we're doing right now. We can go here. So again, kind of following the line of this jewelry brand that I showed you earlier. I mean, look, we're sending a ton of campaigns every month, right? Exclusive deals, sales, discounts, New Year's sale, what's the new ring, right? Airdrop, right? Like this is just pure curiosity, pure sales focus. The strategy is more of like, whoops, people buy from the emails all the time. It's a brand that's more focused on utility, and the utility that they provide is value. And when you provide value, you need to be constantly talking about and pushing value. Now at this point, you got flows, you got campaigns, but how do you actually know if it's working? Here's something I tell every brand owner that I work with. The goal isn't prettier emails. The goal isn't like best practices. The goal is incremental revenue. We want to make more money by sending more emails to more people. So every decision we make, from the subject lines to the send times to the offer structure, is judged by one thing: did we make more money? When you think about it, optimization, and like this next section is offer logic and optimization, or where incremental revenue is found. When you think about optimization this way, it changes everything, okay? In my opinion, offer is the #1 revenue driver. Most brands focus on design tweaks or split tests that don't matter, or, you know, a core and good strategy is to send more emails to make more money, expanding segments, sending more campaigns, sending more flows, but something like design really moves the needle, right? Great copy with a weak offer won't convert, but a great copy with decent copy will, okay? Skipping offer testing is one of the fastest ways to leave 6 figures a year on the table or a month. The brands that win most win because they will treat email not like paid ads, but with a emphasis on a culture of optimization. So constant iteration, constant optimization, relentless testing, okay? This is kind of where I would test and how I would focus on tests, okay? Testing is in order of importance. 1 is offer, okay? 2 is copy, and 3 is design. Don't test like, you know, blue versus red on the design, right? Test 10% off versus 50% off. And no shit, 15% is gonna win. So once you optimize and know that 50% is gonna win, test scratch and sniff. Test zero-party data. Test spin to win, right? Test how you position the 15%. What if you convert the 15% to an X amount of dollars off? Will that work, right? You can play inside that when you think about the core offer. The core offer is getting the product, but how will they get the product? By the way in which you stack it. Are you doing a BOGO offer, right? Are you doing a bundle play? When I talk about offer, I'm mostly talking about what your core offer is, especially on like the pop-up and the welcome series. You can test that, and it is a lot of work sometimes to test that too, because if you change the pop-up offer, you have to change the welcome flow, right? So understand what you're getting into, basically. All right, this is an example of us testing the offer, right? And so this is the control, and then this is a confirmation screen change. So what do we test here? We tested the confirmation screen. So after you get 10% offer, you enter your email and your SMS. It will say like thank you, or it will say something else, or give a discount code, right? So this is a large brand, right? And so they ended the test here, but it was like very nominal. There wasn't like much results there, right? So I can show you, you know, an example of like a different test. We've run like a million tests for these guys. So we tested BFCM, you know, 75%, scratch off, you know, up to 80, and then you can see that it goes 16.9, 16.1. So notice that 70% actually did worse. Obviously, 70% off to 80%, you went from 16.1% to 17.5%. Now, is the margin difference between 70% and 80% worth the extra 1.5%? It's up for the client to kind of decide, right? To recap, email marketing in 2026 is no longer about pretty flows or canvas graphics. It's about depth, segmentation, and precision. The exact system I just walked you through helped generate over 1 million in 30 days for one e-commerce brand. If you want to build and implement the same backend inside your own brand, click on the link in the description below. Happy to help you. We'll build flows, campaigns, we'll set up a testing strategy, we'll fix your deliverability if it's not good, and we'll set up a design system and just crush for you. I know one of our brands like Tails went from disgustingly bad deliverability, like 20% open rates, to like 50, 60, 70%. I think we doubled their email revenue attribution, whatever. They made email to the #1 revenue driving channel. Thanks for watching.